It's podcast time.
It's podcast time.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
So, welcome to It's Just Genetics. Yes.
Yeah. Why have we called it It's Just Genetics?
Well, let's give your reason first. Why?
Well, I feel like a lot of the time we're out with our mates, or we're talking about gym routines and stuff like that, or the stuff we do. And
Pretty much
capable
anything
of.
we do.
And you get these comments, and it's all the time. And it will be from like mates who are like, "How do you train?"
Yeah.
And we'll be like, "Well, we go to the gym, we work pretty hard, we find lots of different ways of staying in shape and blah blah blah, all that kind of crap that you talk about." And then someone will just come up with, "It's just genetics.
You've got good genes.
It
You
must
do.
just be genetics."
Yeah.
And you're like, "Oh my God!" Every single time, and you're like.
Kind of. I think it's. I get it. It's. You see it from a perspective, but it kind of shits on.
Yeah.
What we've done.
It totally shits on everything.
Like we've worked, for example, with fitness. We both have trained for what, 10, 15 years.
Yeah. It's obsessive.
And it's like,
It's obsessive.
your genetics are very good.
Yeah. All right. But it's just genetics, so
Yeah.
that's it's much easier for you. And you're like, well, it's not really.
Yeah.
I think it like comes from the inspiration. Like our inspirations are very different, but they kind of ended up coinciding. So
It's like if you look at, so for new viewers, you're an actor, singer, dancer, basically creative, and the amount of times people are like, "Oh, you're so talented, naturally talented," and I'm like, let's be. I was the singer of the family until what?
He sucked. He sucked.
You were shit, and
Yeah,
you did. I remember you did singing lessons and stuff like that in primary school. So you did that for years, and then I remember. Well, you'd probably better you tell.
I didn't
the
even
story.
get into the choir.
Did you not?
No, I didn't even get into the choir. I
did.
Yeah, I was at a school called Lambert Calebri. I think. God, we sound so privileged. We sound like we're talking down on everyone. We're like, yeah, well, it's just genetics.
In my
we're
private
legends.
school, I did not get into the choir.
Yeah.
No, but no, I think it's fair to do. Like that's we can't help how we were brought up.
Yeah.
It's, but
Yeah,
I
it wasn't
think,
always like that.
yeah, like you didn't get into the choir. I did.
Fuck you.
But I think, it's been a theme consistent throughout life. Like, I think everything that I've touched has very much, people have gone, oh, well, it's probably come quite easy to you. And it's like, well,
Yeah, not really.
not really. I kind of had to work.
But it's weird, isn't it? Because it's never felt like that stuff. It's never felt like hard work because you enjoy it. You know, like I think a lot of the inspirations that drew us to the gym, I came from quite nasty situations. Like I talking personally, like training and getting into shape, came from a very nasty place initially. I remember being at a pool party when I was like maybe 17, 18, and this kid, won't say names because don't want to shame him, but
Jeff?
his name is Jeff.
Yes.
He said to me in front of like a bunch of girls, he was like, "Oh, I thought you'd be more ripped than that." And I remember just like that comment has stuck with me for
When was
about.
that?
That was when I don't even know. I was at a Jackie Palmer
Really?
pool party, yeah. And
Do you know, it's interesting on that note of, I think everyone does truly know, but you don't realise how much a single comment can literally shape someone's life. I mean, our sister been through some of the toughest times from a comment on her weight. And I know lots of other men and women have been through where they've had someone say one thing and it's kind of led to them either destroying themselves or going mad in the gym.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because it's how people react to that kind of comment or that kind of stigma. And I think growing up, it can inform the way you react to those situations. Particularly with us, I think we were brought up in a very competitive manner. Yeah. Our stepfather pitted us against each other the whole time and drummed into us this sense of like competition. So everything became a competition.
Do you think we would have naturally been competitive anyway? Because I remember I've always had this absolute drive to beat you. I've just been like, and what I was thinking about actually on the way here is how that we've spun that in such a positive, because we'll go to say Metabolic Gym, shout out Craig, the GOAT. And
Camera one, camera
even if we're not, even if we're not directly competing, I know you went the same as me. In my head, I'm like, I must beat him. And then when you do, like, you'll annihilate me on the ski, and I'm like, yeah, you're amazing at it. No one can beat you. It's like me going,
I'm gonna beat you. Yeah. No, I think the most interesting thing about that is I think being the older brother, I think it's always had this thing with me where I don't like overtly state that I'm trying to compete with you, because if I then say that, it makes me then feel like I'm chasing you.
And if you lose,
and so I've always been like, oh yeah, it just comes naturally to me, and then behind the scenes I'm like, I must fucking destroy this boy.
And then that's exactly how I am. It's like, I'll never be like, let's go head to head, because I'm like,
you're like playing poker the whole time. You're like, I will win, but I'll do it my own way.
It's so mixed who's going to win it, because we're literally identical in fitness. There's certain things you're better at, certain things. So when it comes to like stringing them all together, it's like, he might beat me.
There's always that thing in the back of your head where you're like, he's going to destroy me at this. But I think that's been quite nice for like our careers as well, in terms of, because we do such different things. It almost takes away that pressure. So I remember, I
know what you're going to bring up.
What's this?
The cross country.
The cross country.
The first time
I
ever beat Tom. And for years, I lauded it over him. But really, he got an injury. And I'm like, I beat you now.
Yeah, my knee went.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
I think...
I was dismally embarrassed, though.
Yeah, but that's what... But that's what I mean. I think this genuinely has driven us to be better at everything we do.
Yeah.
Because in fitness, we are top, like not tooting our own trumpet. We always rise to the top. And I think that's because we're actually competing with each other. So, oh shit, he's really good at that. I need to now get good. And I remember my first metabolic session, which is a gym in Camden.
I remember that as well.
He's been trying to get me to go to it for ages. And I'm like, oh, it's stupid. You lose all your gains. And then I went and did one and was like, this is so hard. And literally was like, this is so shit. And now I love it.
Yeah, it's intense. Metabolic for all intents and purposes is genuinely the hardest workout in London. I'm willing to stake money on that. I'm willing to stake money on it. I remember the only workout I've ever walked out on was a Monday evening metabolic advanced class. And it was 7:30 in the evening. It was an hour and a half of working out. Finished at 9 o'clock, and I like genuinely, I couldn't do it. I walked out just being like, I don't know what to do. But I think I was overworking, maybe.
I guess that's kind of where the it's just genetics kind of comes beautifully, because I think there's so many nuances and things you can talk about, which only happens between siblings. I see.
Yeah, I think so too. But I also think. A lot of things, the way you live your life and the habits you pick up along the way usually aren't things you consciously think about too much, particularly once they're ingrained. And so the things that we do, perhaps born from those competitive ways, and also the things we did, like at drama school. I remember in the first ballet class, the ballet teacher came up to me, poked me in the stomach and went, lose it. Those things suddenly add fire to that habit that you've started to create, and it actually accelerated those things that became a part of my daily life. Like going to the gym is just what I do now. Like I wake up and that's something that I have to do within my day, otherwise I get massively anxious.
I'm the same. It's interesting actually how you can, these moments where, say, that poke on the stomach, that comment, if it's used in the correct way, like you react to it, and I don't think you necessarily consciously do it. It depends on how, I guess, where your confidence is and things like that. But same for me. I think comments made maybe primary school, I remember people flexing their arms. And I was like, and I could genuinely do that around my arm. And I remember being like, fuck. So, and then I started to see, I was a bean.
Shout out skinniness. In fact, we should probably put some picture references.
Yes.
So skinny.
Yeah. But I remember seeing a guy on the front of a Maxi Muscle magazine called Rez Jahan something. And he had the most insane physique. And I was like, I'm going to get that. So I was doing all the silly sit-ups in my room. And
was Aziz, you mean?
No, it wasn't Aziz. And that, I was like, I'm going to get that physique. And I looked back the other day and was like, oh, I have a better physique. And it's amazing how that sort of perspective warps.
It's weird. I remember like going to Westfield or like walking around London, and the biggest kudos was to be handed a card by Abercrombie and Fitch saying, we want you to come for a job interview. And so I was like, when it happened to me in London, I was like, oh, I've been chosen.
Yeah. That was huge. And I remember being so jealous of that. I was like,
well, I had a bag on. I remember when I got told about, but the ballet teacher like poked me and whatever, like I was already in kind of a hype from that comment in the pool party. They're all adding up at this point. It was a nightmare.
It's an accumulation.
Yeah. So I remember someone told me to, I think it was a teacher or something, told us to nail something on the wall or like stick something on the wall, like a goal, aspirational thing you want to achieve, and then every day look at it, and then you've got some sort of target to head towards. And so I put this Abercrombie and Fitch bag on my wall, and I was like, that's the body I want. And so every day I was chipping away until I saw that. And then these things are really useful. I know, it's not. I'm not trying to be toxic or fat phobic. That really isn't the intention here. But genuinely, I think if you want, I'm saying if you want something, it's good to have a visual, because I find you can't achieve a dream if you don't know what the dream is. And if you can think about something, if you can dream something, you can be that thing. It's a line from Rocky Horror: don't dream it, be it.
I think you're spot on. Like the idea of, I think when you don't have goals, and I've experienced that recently, when you don't have goals, it kind of feels like you don't have a purpose.
Yeah.
And when you do have a purpose, whether it be, say, Hyrox, you're wanting a certain score, everyone's jumped on the Hyrox bandwagon at the moment. And if you don't have a goal in that, you kind of just do the training. It's all right. But having a goal to reach towards means every session, everything you do has an intention.
Yeah.
Everything's got that intention. So you feel driven in doing it. It's not just, and I think a lot of people say, when they go to the gym, I'm going to the gym, and I'm like, fair enough. The act of actually going to the gym without a purpose is quite boring.
Yeah,
right? Lifting up weights, and particularly if you're new at it, it's like, what is actually that interesting?
I think I was thinking about this last night. Actually, it's like, as human beings, we're curious. Like, curiosity is one of the things that makes humanity develop and become what it has. We've got iPhones, we've got big towers. We've got incredible feats, like we can fly in a giant metal tube. All this stuff, this comes from curiosity, people being curious about if that's possible, what they could, there's a dream, and then they chip away and they more or less every time achieve it. I mean, even the advances in science and stuff, the particular advances in like biology, coming from the COVID pandemic, the more people can see dream, the more people's eyes are subverted to that sector of science, for example, through
bigger breakthroughs.
COVID, people start dreaming of this and that, cures for this and that, and all of a sudden everything's becoming a lot, because loads of money is going in, people can see it, people tangibly think it's doable. I think once it's visioned, then the road towards it becomes not endless.
Yeah.
It becomes finite, and you can actually.
That's so well put. You're right, and that's so well put. I think by having, just as you've summed up the analogy quite well, but just having that picture, something to aim towards, that little reminder every day is what you need. Because when you don't have that reminder, you don't have that goal, you do just find yourself sort of drifting and being like, oh, there's a little nudge every day, which is why I think things like morning routines and training plans and things like this are so important, because it gives you the intention, the plan, and you can chip away at it every day. Because I think a lot of people, including myself, will look at a problem or something they want to achieve and go, that's going to take ages. It's like, of course it will. It's like, if you something truly worth
anything worth having, it's not going to be easy.
Yeah. And that's where I think interesting topic, social media. It kind of, I mean, it's a brilliant tool. Like, I think social media is amazing, but I think the problem is, up until now, it's been very much finished product.
Yeah.
Wow, look at this person with 1 million followers. Look at what he's achieved. And I think that's quite
I feel toxic. Like I'm allergic to social media.
Yeah. Right? You have a very different experience to me.
Yeah.
You're very much like, I find things will annoy you. You'll see things.
I just find like, for me, it's like intention. It's like, why am I posting this? So social media, I'm over time, I've fully come to believe it's a business tool.
Yeah.
And if you understand it that way, I feel like the reason for using it becomes very different.
Has it lost its initial intention, which is for people to be social and exchange and show?
Yeah, well, no, I think the intention of it in the first place, I think,
connection
was to connect people. But Ed Sheeran put it really succinctly the other day. The other year, even quite a while ago, and he said, a lot of the time, social media is people who are feeling anxious and down about themselves, trying to make themselves feel better by putting a photo that looks good of themselves.
And he said he feels sorry for them.
Yeah, he feels sorry for them because it's almost like when people are posting a lot like that, it sounds like a cry out for help.
Yeah.
And I totally understand that because, with what I do, with being an actor, the industry has swung so wildly towards content and putting yourself out there that I almost find it...
You withdraw.
I almost find it quite... Yeah, I almost like back away because those two ideals clash, that marketing yourself, but also knowing that you're doing this to make yourself feel better about you not being down. That clashes in my head, but then with that idea of business in mind, it you can kind of be a bit colder about it. But all of that stuff ruminates in me and makes me go, I really don't like I don't understand why I'm using it. And so doing this.
I get that. Here's to give you my sort of usage recently of it. So I've started using it to build a personal brand, and I've found it is really quite awesome when you create content around what you're doing and your journey and things like this.
Powered by Pingfluence, by the way.
Powered by Pingfluence. But what I've found is that because you are then scrolling for ideas, you then start to see all this other content. And what happens is you start to compare. And I found myself in the past few months comparing myself more than ever since I started really pushing into social media. And it's meant I've genuinely feel my happiness levels dip down. And I only realized it recently. And that's because you will, this is my thoughts, for example.
Yeah.
You'll come up with an idea which you like, post it gets 800 views, and you're like, and if you think about 800 people watching your content in any normal scenario, it's like, wow. But social media's meant if you don't get 2 million, 5 million, 10 million, you're a loser. And that's how I perceive it.
Yeah.
So I'll scroll, and I see ideas, I save them, and then I'll try and do them. And I realize I'm not doing that because I want to post that content. I'm doing that because I think that's what the audience will want. Takes away the joy, takes away the sort of, I guess, the fulfillment from coming up with your own original ideas. And then it gets 1,000 views and you're like, for fuck's sake. I just
if you're looking for because kind of a vapid outcome, you're going to have a vapid feeling.
Well, that's the thing is, as you pointed out, I'm now clearly the switch happened because of all this scrolling to I want the views and it's like, well, of course you need them to grow your brand.
Stick to your goal and your path will be clearer.
Right.
And then I think there's a really on that topic, seek and ye shall find is something I've
yes,
seek and ye shall find. I love how we're talking in Shakespearean
and
English.
You shall find.
But if you look for people who are better than you, or you look for things that are flying more than you, you're going to find them. There's particularly as connected as we are with social media, you will always find someone who has got a much better physique than you. You'll find someone who their business is making millions of pounds more than you. Yeah. 10 grand a month for selling feet pics. I don't know. They'll be making 10k a month off fitness plans.
And it's no wonder you're going to feel like shit.
Yeah, you're gonna constantly be knocked down by things that are nothing to do with you.
I know someone who makes 40 grand a month from posting pictures on OnlyFans.
Really?
And I'm like,
amazing.
OnlyFans.
I'm like, this is my new business plan.
But
we've had this discussion so many times.
We've genuinely.
Shall we just go train topless in the gym and go on OnlyFans?
And it's like, the more I get through life, but I think this is where you have to. This thing you just pointed out, you have to step away from that and stop looking at people who are better than you for comparison. It should just be inspiration.
Just keep heading towards that goal you've set, because if you let the path split off at it's like if you don't stand focus for anything, you fall for everything. You'll keep falling off that path over and over again.
Yeah. And that is actually brilliantly put, because that's what I feel I've been doing the past few months. And I posted a video the other day about seeing out the year rather than looking at it as, listen, we've got 3 months left, because I've seen loads of videos going 3 months left, smash it. It's like, well, actually, how about we be a bit more realistic and look at these 3 months as, I want to do these things in the new year. You're going to have new year goals. Start chipping away at them now.
Yeah.
And because you are going to make mistakes, like, let's be honest, quitting vaping is fucking hard.
It's
so hard because they taste amazing.
Shout out to vape.
Yeah, right? And like, I think that is going to be a journey in that you're going to have fails, particularly as silly season approaching. Running the business at the moment, there are so many things which go wrong all the time, but so many things that go right. Accept that that's going to happen. That's like part of the path is we're going to fuck up. And if you
I want to preface all of this, by the way. But before we
preface.
Preface. How do you say it? Preface or preface? I'm going to preface. Preface. Let's preface this.
Preface away.
So I'm gonna preface this with we're not. There is no part of this where we came into this idea of doing a podcast going, oh, we're going to give incredible advice to make everyone incredible, because we're not incredible.
No.
You know,
that's it. It's just genetics. We're having a shit time sometimes.
We're well aware that we also are shit at a lot of things. A lot of things. And I think it's good to be able to talk about your flaws as well as your victories.
It's relatable because ultimately if you look at social media now, there's a lot of people showing their journey, and it's really fucking cool to see people going for it, knowing full well that they're a long way away from where they want to be, but they're chipping away at it.
Yeah.
Because that's human life. Like, it takes.
Well, you get insight, don't you, as you grow older? What I found is, like, in your 20s, particularly early 20s, all my dreams, you know, as I like knocked off certain dreams, I was like, all you have to do is dream big and you'll succeed all the time.
Just to preface that, he did actually get in the 20s, and this is why I think the industry you're in is so savage. You went from being told you're shit at drama school to getting into the top drama school in London, to then getting the lead as Rocky Horror in the West End, to then getting another lead. And so to you, it's like Bieber.
Yeah.
He has people going, you're amazing, I love you. Like, you're obviously going to go, I'm pretty fucking awesome. So you're obviously going to go,
weird.
I literally am amazing. I just get lead roles. So when you don't get that, you take it really hard, and you get knocked quite savagely.
I think it's more just the point I was making as you go on. You start to realise that actually it is the compounding of the doing of the walking towards that goal, the compounding, I guess, events that lead up to those moments, and you need to be. I think it's really important to not get too caught up on that, you know, that holy grail, that thing you're after, and the result as rigidly as you can create it. Because if you create a rigid idea of your dream, or a rigid idea or something, you're always going to be disappointed. But what I found is that if you do go after those things, and if you do over time press and push and work cleverly and with,
it's just 1% better every day.
Yeah, but if you do that, then a version of that dream, or something that's not, every time I think that's the dream, and then I get something that is just as cool but not quite what I envisioned, and I go, wow, that's really interesting. Like, and you only get that insight through growing up and through time, and you don't have that in your 20s. You know, everything happens, and you're like, boom,
in your
boom,
20s, boom. I said that it's by 30 I'll have a Porsche, by this I'll be a millionaire, by this. And those are great dreams. They definitely propelled me forward. But it meant when you don't get there, you really take it as a knock, and you're like, oh, and you start to create this mindset starts to creep in of, oh, I'm not special. And it's like, well, of course, no one's special in their own right. Well, actually, we all are special in our own right. But by doing that, you sort of knock your confidence. So I think you're right. It's having that flexibility and goals. And also the quote, nothing happens, then everything happens at once, could not be more true, because you realize, certainly for me, and I think for you, is it feels like things just stagnate for a bit. Even though you're chipping away, it feels stagnant. And then suddenly, bang, everything. I'll give you an example. Pinkfluence is my business, which I started.
Shout out Pinkfluence.
Shout out Pinkfluence. I'm massive at you. And
download link.
Download link, and if you're an influencer or creator,
yeah, it's there.
It's the best community in the world. But like, obviously that came from a pivot. I never thought I'd be working with influencers and creators, but it came from a pivot. And at the start, it was like, wow, we're growing fast. And then it felt like, oh God, this is really quite tricky, because you don't know what you're doing in a startup. You're like, let's try this. Might work, might not.
Yeah.
But those little chippings away of every day, keeping my personal routine and then chipping away at this, suddenly everything happens at once. And it's been consistent throughout the experience. This Friday, Rhea and my business partner and I, we've been like, God, things are...
Rhea.
Shout out Rhea, the Silver Fox. We've been finding things have just been quite slow. But then suddenly, bang, we locked in an amazing client. Swingers, awesome place. Another client came through. The website for Barley's launched, this. All of it just happened on the Friday.
Yeah, it's a trust the process situation, isn't it? You can't, like I said, you can't really envision what's going to happen. None of us know what's going to happen. Tomorrow you could be hit by a bus. But if you're motivated and driven towards, specific goals require specific set of actions.
Yeah.
And I think with those, what you're saying, with your business, because you can't envision because not many people are doing what you're doing. You can't envision what success is on that scale. You don't know what it is because it hasn't been created yet by many companies.
Yeah, that's so true.
So to kind of be at ease with trusting the process, which is what you're very good at, trusting the process, because we don't know what's going to happen if we do this for a long time. We got an idea of what might happen. If you trust that process, then you're more likely to stick to those routines, those little things that help, because then it puts you at ease. You know, I have this real issue with being in my industry, where you could be doing, I don't know, this incredible role in the West End one day. 1 year even, and then on the next day you could be doing a one-liner in some random ass TV series that you didn't even know existed.
Well, that's something, watching externally, I can empathize with how hard that must be, because you go from...
Well, it makes you not trust the process.
Well, exactly.
You're like, the process is taking me... It's taken me to fucking Bali, and then it's taken me all the way to Bognor Regis. Like, you don't know, you could end up anywhere in the world, and it's just...
Well, Bryan Cranston was saying this the other day. He was like, exactly that, trust the process. He said, I think he was...
By the way, Bognor Regis is okay. I'm not slamming it, but it's, I would say, in terms of like...
It's not got the best name.
It's not my favourite place in the world. I got a nice piece of rock there though once.
Bognor Regis.
Shout out Bognor Regis.
Pinkfluence. But yeah, he got his break, I think, at like 41, with Malcolm in the Middle. No, not now. It's not the time.
I want some seasonal. I want some seasonal sweets.
Time for our segment, seasonal
sweets.
So we've both bought some sweets in to segment this up. I bought some nerds.
Right, I bought some seasonal sweets. So he doesn't quite understand, but I might have stumbled across the greatest sweets of all time, and they are in fact seasonal sweets. Haribo sour skeletons. So to preface this, my family, my uncle and aunt, they are very into their Haribo, and therefore I am too. And I found these in Sainsbury's the other day, and I will say, go out and grab them while you can. They're unbelievable. Stock yourself up. Also, if you put them in the fridge or the freezer for about 20 minutes, oh my gosh. Life-changing. Simply life-changing. I'm talking to myself now. Oh my God. Haribo, if you're listening, well done. Oh God. Yeah, buzzing.
I want to talk about the sesh. No, so I've gone sober recently.
Seasonal sweet.
I've gone sober recently. Fucking ASMR. Oh my God. Okay, so there's a big movement towards going sober. If you look around, clubs, they're dying. People are, and also the idea of a club is quite interesting. We used to spend our 20s going out to places like Prism, Oceana, get wankered. on the cheapest shit possible.
Yeah.
And then go and stand in a room with music.
The pre-lash.
Trying to, effectively, most lads trying to get laid.
Blue Bolt energy drink.
And you basically shout at some girl trying to talk and then fail.
Drink responsibly.
Go and smoke ciggies in the smoking area and be like, yeah. And then come home and you wake up feeling fine. And I think this day and age, I look at that experience and I'm like, I don't really want to do that. I don't even like the idea, the trade-off between having a few drinks and the way I feel the next day when I'm in my period of life where I want to get better. It doesn't make sense. And I've ended up last year far too many nights where you get in at 4, 5, 6 a.m., feel like shit for days.
It's the worst.
And I'm like, I don't want to do that anymore. So I've decided, I went sober. I tried to start the year to do the whole year. I failed on month 4 because I had friends telling me, it was like, well, if it becomes a negative connotation, stop fucking eating the sweets you bring.
I love the seasonal sweets.
Just because it will rattle in the mic. But I had friends sort of say, well, if you're wanting to drink on these nights out and then it becomes a negative when you actually have a drink, then you're actually making it a negative. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I'm going to have a drink if I want to have a drink. And then I sort of started drinking, had a few nights, ended up having a few 6 a.m.ers and was like, this is shit. This is shit. I want to do more with my life. And there's what I'm loving to see.
There's nothing worse than when the light comes streaming through the window.
It's crap.
And you're still up.
Yeah. Everyone's done it. Like, let's be honest.
Horrible. Like just talking about it gives me anxiety.
But then it would be so easy to end up having those nights. So, and what I've found since going sober is, it's what, month, I think 4 now. I mean, I went to Tomorrowland, obviously, all of it. But then that's been the only time. The wave you operate on is so much clearer. You just feel driven, focused. You can deal with challenges more. The anxiety that you get from certain things you're able to compartmentalize it better. And it's actually pretty easy to do with the non-alcoholic beers and things like that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think it's people want to feel the extremes if they live in a town. I think particularly in London, you get everyone, a lot of people I know, I'm pretty sure they'll agree. When life is on like a path, a linear path, or things that just going normally, or you're living that routine.
You're just cruising.
Yeah, I think people suddenly go, oh God, I need to shake up my life. I need to do something that takes me to an extreme feeling. And I think it leads a lot of people to do a lot of cocaine. It leads a lot of people to go and get wasted because it makes them stop thinking about just the mundane and their.
Do you think it's? I had a chat with my friend Chow Jade about something I always do, which is overanalyze things. Like, the reason they're going out and getting on the bag on a Friday night and getting fucked up is because they want to escape. They want to escape, and it's like, well, actually, sometimes people just want to have a fucking good time. Yeah,
but I think it's like we were talking about earlier. To relate it back, going on that kind of path you're on. If you're not seeing those goals, if you're not seeing those hits of dopamine, those rushes of like serotonin, all those kind of things that you want from life, and you're not seeing them frequently enough, then what is the other way to see those moments frequently? He's destroyed the plastic plant. Sorry. So it's that constant urge to want something exciting to happen all the time. And you don't have to work. You don't have to work long periods of time for that. You don't have to stay in this constant rat race, And
I think that leads on to why. So I don't know if this is the generation below us, but everyone in their 30s is either doing an Ironman or a High Rocks or a marathon, and they're at run clubs every weekend or at fitness classes.
Which it's a massive kick of excitement, and you can control when it is.
Yeah. That's interesting, but I think there's more to it than that. I think the social element of it's the same thing.
Yeah, it is just a rush of excitement.
Look at that epiphany!
It is. It's connection with when you have that rush, and you can't choose in your career, particularly if you're working for someone else or particularly if you're an actor. A lot of actors have a lot of drug problems and a lot of issues. Not naming specifics, but we all know those people. and
cancel him.
The only way you can control
Cancel Dom.
when you get that rush or you get that high, that you get from if your agent called you and goes, you got the job, is by making it yourself.
Yeah.
And we're creators, so we're going to create a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. I mean, obviously not everyone will agree, because I think there's so many different, like even just in this room alone, you've got entrepreneur doing a startup, which is completely different to the acting world, but then you've got the 9-to-5ers who live a completely different life. Then you've got the people who have utterly succeeded and they're smashed. There's so many different ways to live life. But ultimately, I think everyone, as you said, they're looking for the way to feel alive. And if you look at someone like Stephen Bartlett, he has got enough money to chill. And in fact, most super successful entrepreneurs, they could retire, but they don't. They either start new businesses, or Simon Squibb, for example, he's helping other people. Because once you've done that, once you've achieved that goal, it's like, I think it's called gold medal depression.
Gold medal syndrome.
Yeah, gold medal syndrome, where they feel actually very depressed after. And I get it.
Yeah, when they win a gold in an Olympic event, or, you hit the biggest moment of your life.
It's actually, they're depressed after.
Yeah, I remember when I did Rocky Horror at the Playhouse Theatre. I think Cabaret is there now. And I remember being like, my dream was to be on the West End. It was to be, a lead role on the West End. And I did it in my I think it was my first year out of drama school, if I'm honest. And which is stupid, and it shouldn't happen, and it's unheard of. I mean, shout out to people who have done that, but I don't for 1 second not feel grateful and lucky to have had that opportunity. But I remember being on that stage, being filmed by like Sky Cinema, and it went out to BBC America and stuff. It was like huge, and just going to myself, oh my God, I was just texting my mum going, was I in tune? That was terrible. I'm so sorry. And I just remember being like, the rush was superseded entirely by my insecurity.
Yeah.
And then just feeling
imposter syndrome.
Like what, and then going like, what's next? Like, what do I do from here?
And that's
and it just undermined my whole enjoyment.
It's crazy to hear that, because it's imposter syndrome, isn't it? Same with me. I raised an outrageous amount of money that someone gave me for Pinkfluence. And I remember raising it and was like, yes, I had maybe 20 seconds of like, come on. And then I was like, and Stephen Bartlett said the same thing when he raised his money. I stopped referencing him. Boring. Loads of entrepreneurs who have done things like this say that they raise money, they sold their business. It was like, it's a bit anticlimactic. And it's crazy to think that goal that you put in your headlights for so long doesn't give you that sort of happiness that you expect.
Have you got gold medal syndrome? Comment down below. Comment what it's been.
Comment, yeah, fucking gold medal syndrome.
Drop a comment.
But yeah, and I think it's interesting, because that relates back to the goal thing. Having those goals, that's the journey. The journey is always the exciting bit. Going after stuff. And I think Chris Williamson said it beautifully. I'm going to butcher his quote around the dopamine comes from striving towards something. It's the looking forward to it. The actual thing doesn't release the dopamine. It's the wanting it. Like when you're craving a cigarette, that dopamine is releasing before you have it. Well, no one smokes these days.
Yeah, it's that excitement that builds up to it. In fact,
think about this podcast. This is a great segue. Interrupting. Don't interrupt me. This podcast, Dom and I have been feeling a bit stagnant recently. Even though we're both doing great things, we were feeling a bit stagnant recently. And when we proposed the podcast, the excitement and back and forth was awesome. And we're not doing it for any other reason than to catch up with each other.
Yeah, there's no part of me that ever loves to open myself up on social media or tell the world who I am or etc. Like entirely for me, it was just having the opportunity to work with and to do something with my brother. Together. It's quite hard to do stuff together because a lot of the time, I would lack the skills to work for Pinkfluence.
And likewise, I can't do anything.
Yeah, you're not going to come be an actor, although I'd probably get you into stuff if it ever appeared.
If you need an act, but yeah, it's the same. The only time we really hang out.
He's really good at accents.
Hello. Hello. The only time we would hang out really is the gym, or if I've got one of my events, and one of my events is normally with Pinkfluence alcohol infused, so it can turn into chaos. And so we were like, this is cool, we can sit, talk, digest, because I think it's so important to just chat to your mates about genuine things, not birds, shagging birds. It's like serious stuff, like what's going on in your week? How have you been? I've had a shit week, this and all of that. And this, you can see, is very natural straight away.
Yeah, I think I've learned the importance, and I know you have too, of just like asking every now and again, just how are you?
Just checking in.
Should probably go into that.
In segments.
Why is your seasonal sweet on the floor?
Because I didn't want it.
Yeah, but the floor's not going to eat it. You either eat it or put it in the bin. Seasonal sweets need to be eat.
Eat it.
We've got to do our weekly check-in.
Oh yeah. How's your week?
My week's been good. You know what's been a lot? It's looked a lot different from the past few weeks. I've done, I think it was 3 shifts at Robots this week, so three classes actually, which is nowhere near what I'm usually teaching.
Why?
I think all of a sudden everyone's back from holiday. We've got a whole host of new instructors. They're doing a bit of a gear change with Robots. They're turning it, there's a bit of a, I think they called the shoot the Renaissance shoot or something. And there was so many of us. I was just like, oh my gosh, there's going to be no shifts. There's one studio. It's so, whereas I was covering everyone who was away, and doing over 10 classes a week there. Now, because I'm only on cover because I'm an actor and I'm flighting, and I'll just randomly go somewhere for like months and not respond to you and leave your text on red. That kind of level of work that's available has suddenly gone down, and I've just had 3, which has kind of sucked a bit because I'm a bit anxious about finances all the time in London.
Well, this is the thing. I think London is very much pay to play. It feels like you walk out the front door and it's like, that'll be £20, please.
Yeah. You sneeze and it's like £10.
It's like, oh, lunch, £15 for what?
Yeah.
And then you'll pick up something because you're a little bit hungry, and it's like, oh, that protein bars are like £4 now.
Like I get anxiety checking my bank balance after like a heavy week.
I don't look at it, and then I wonder why I'm like, oh, I've got no money left.
I've got no money.
But yeah,
How was your week?
I got ill-ish. I don't know if I burnt out a little bit or what, but I was.
Yeah.
Monday came in, I started my new, I'm going to run every morning. It lasted 2 days. And then I felt like crap until Thursday. And I was like, I'm on some antibiotics because my voice has been fucked for years.
Yeah.
It seems to be okay at the moment.
You know what? Everyone asks me when I say I'm hanging out with Ollie or I'm with you, they go, how's his voice?
Yeah.
That's the first question I get. What I mean? Yeah, every time.
I've had a laser.
I'm like, you should ask him.
Yeah. I mean, well, I probably won't respond because of no voice.
Yeah.
But I've had, let's just go through the voice. Here's what we've had. 10 years ago, I was teaching kids to code. Oh, cute. And I remember I got ill, and then that week going to work, I'd wake up and be like,
it's more of the story.
and like cough it out. Like,
what is that sound?
Yeah.
And my God, that is not ASMR.
just to remove the phlegm, and it would clear and I'd be fine. But it persisted every time I get ill, and it got worse and worse and worse over 10 years, to the point where sometimes if I go out, it's fucked.
Yeah.
So I then started seeing a doctor who was like, have you had antibiotics? And I was like, I don't know. It gives me some sort of works.
So your voice is feeling better this week?
Yeah. Well, then I had an operation. They found a bacteria there that shouldn't be there. Then they prescribed me a strong antibiotic. And then recently I went, listen, saw that.
Yeah,
and he's like, we're going to do some laser on it. So I had a tube down my throat. Saw that, darling. And I had a laser, and now I'm on antibiotics. So anyway, thought it was those. Turns out it wasn't. I think maybe I just got something because I'm fine now and I'm still on the antibiotics. And yeah, Pingfluence is locked in. We've got 8 Halloween events, and we've just locked in one of my favourite competitive socialising venues. So it's been a good week. Swingers.
Swingers, nice.
Yeah, which is one of the coolest. There are 2 bars in London, and actually, let's see if you've got any cool names. Swingers, it's a mini golf place, amazing name, and Tequila Mockingbird.
Tequila Mockingbird. Great name.
Any others you have a good name
for? Very good. What, as in any
well-named bars?
I remember Boop Cheese on
Boop Cheese.
But everyone was like, Boop Cheese? That's a bar. You'd be like,
Boop Cheese.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that was good. What's another one?
There aren't really many.
I can't really think.
Maybe here's one for all you guys. If you've got a cool named bar, pop it below. Okay, well that was good. And actually, on the checking in, I think that's one of the main reasons I wanted to do this with you, because we're very like high level when we're at the gym. You're either on your fucking phone, or and I'm like, come on, work, and we're never. It's kind of like a half-assed catch up.
Yeah.
So it's nice to do this.
Yeah, it's good to actually like ask how you are.
Yeah,
I think it's really important with your mates as well.
Yeah,
I've realised the most important thing, because sometimes just having your mate go, "How are you?" can make you feel heard, or make you feel, important. Which is, at the end of the day, we all want to feel important. We all want to feel special, and I think it's so helpful for someone to just check in on you, or you to check in on them. Just remember, like
just remembering
that could change their day around, or
little things like just remembering that they've been through something recently, which is like, for example, job situations and all this. It's just checking in on that, I think, makes someone feel, oh, wow, they actually care. Because I think in London it's the best city in the world, but I also think it's so toxic, and you have to get out the city because everything's go. I'll give you an example. I'm walking on the tube and someone steps in front of me. My initial thought is, you prick, move it. And I'm like,
get out of my way, what idiot.
You stupid little man.
How dare you?
Why am I having that thought when someone accidentally steps? And I think that's what I realized with London is you build up this stress and it accumulates and accumulates, and you start becoming quite, well, for me certainly, I become bitter internally. Like I'll see someone doing something cool and I'm like,
but then those become habits.
Right.
And then then eventually, like, if you don't keep them in check, they become personality.
Which is why you're quite good at checking me, because I overanalyze everything.
Yeah. And you do it to me sometimes as well. I think it's just good to.
No, I don't.
Yeah. No, I don't.
Shut up.
I think it's I don't really. I think all of us are totally imperfect, and I think if we think we got our shit together, usually we haven't got our shit together. That's a fact. Like.
It's fleeting.
Yeah. I mean, we could go around this.
Life is
psychologically for literally hours. But what I find is, there's certain things that are true to me now. Ironically, this comment comes after that. But the more you know, the less you know. That's such a frustrating thing for me. Like, the more I know, the more I realise that I don't know enough. So I don't know a lot.
That's why the phrase "ignorance is bliss." I truly understood it. I'm like, oh yeah, if you don't know, it's good.
Yeah, it's one of the most annoying things about reading books for me. I start reading books, and then as I get through it, I'm like, God, I've got so much a wealth of knowledge I can share with my friends. Come across so intelligently.
Yeah,
and then I start to go, oh my God, the amount of like source material that inspired this book is so vast. I will never, ever, ever be able to comprehend how much more I could learn or need to know. And then I just go like, and it actually makes me feel quite depressed sometimes. Yeah. I mean, by the way, big up read because it changes the way.
Big up books.
Big up books.
Big up the books.
Big up the books. But I think reading is so important because it influences how you converse with people. It unlocks a flow and a road in your brain that allows conversation and new words, new ways of formatting the way you talk to people. And in fact, immersing yourself in another world enriches your own world. And it's so important to have those different aspects, those different viewpoints, those different, that, because your imagination is the most important thing. Because like I said before, if you can dream something, you can do something. So if your dreams are bigger because you've got more to draw on from what you've been reading and what you've been ingesting, then inevitably your achievements are going to line up with what those dreams have become.
I couldn't agree more. 3 things on that. First, I think, controversial opinion. I think most people's opinions come from social media these days. You listen to people like, do you know what's appalling? And they'll regurgitate something that was put on social media, which could be true, it might not be true. I do it as well. Like, you get so frustrated about something that has been said by someone on social media. It might not be true. 2, traveling is exactly like reading books, I feel, because you immerse yourself in other cultures, and you don't just immerse yourself in other cultures, you realise that people going travelling are trying to find themselves or just have a good time. And there's no facades. Everyone's just there being themselves. And you truly realise that when you're in a community where people are just themselves, curious about you, you feel great.
But the irony of looking for yourself is that you find everyone else.
So true.
That's it. You don't find Well, yeah, I suppose you can find yourself to some degree, but that phrase just is so ambiguous and stupid. I think
finding yourself is bollocks. You're right. It's not. You don't find yourself.
You find the rest of the world.
Yeah, and you learn about. You start. Do you know what I'll put it as? Is traveling. The amount of times I'd look at something, observe it, and be like, oh, fuck, my opinion on that has changed, and that led me to start realizing actually. Your opinions changing is a good thing. If you're getting more context from the world, because if you cannot move your opinion on something, that no matter what you're told, your opinion says that's an ideology.
Yeah.
It's not an opinion. And then the final thing on your point, the most inspired and motivated I feel when I'm going after stuff, whether it's morning routine, whatever, is when I'm reading and I go, oh my God, that's so interesting. Because you go, fuck. You have these moments where you're like, wow, okay, that's inspired me. But
it grows your brain. It grows your brain. Yeah. You know that feeling when you put a book down and all of a sudden your head feels like open, and it feels like there's more space, and it feels like, you're not as boxed into your own thoughts. The thoughts are bigger. Yeah. That's what I get anyway. I'm not sure about everyone else, but I feel like
I agree.
I feel like I've got more space to move mentally, which is mad, because actually, if you think about it, going to the gym, for example, if you do a bit of a warm up and you start lifting weights, you can get bigger and bigger weights. You have more space, you have more power in your muscles. It's the same for your brain. You read,
it's a muscle.
You're flexing, and then you have more space. So the possibilities are wider. And I just, it's just as important to work your brain and also your mental health to some degree, or to a full degree, than is to.
It's like I think you're right, because on mental health, I think one of the biggest. For me personally, with mental health, is the thing that eases me when I'm having tough times is realizing other people have these thoughts.
Yeah.
And whether they're when you're at the station and you're like, why did I just envision myself pushing that person in front of the train? You realize everyone has those weird thoughts. Everyone has those thoughts of, I can never be someone, or I can never.
Yeah. Remember, you're not a bad person because you have those thoughts. You're a bad person if you act on those thoughts.
Yes, correct. As Ricky Gervais. And you know what? This is weird. I was watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I'm going to reference a lot of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Yeah. Captain Holt, who's the actor, sadly passed away. He's the best.
R.I.P.
He literally yesterday, he's like, Jake goes, "Oh, Captain Holt, you're so smart. Your brain is rock hard." And he's like, well, no, if my brain is to be good, it would be moist and wet. Like, it's soft and wet.
Profound.
And he's like, profound. No, don't say that. He's like, anyway, I agree. I think reading is, speaking of reading, what's your book of the week?
My book of the week. I mean, to be honest with you, my book of the week is, what was the one I read the other day? Oh yeah, The Psychology of Money.
Oh, it's good.
It's really a good book. It's really good book. I mean, to be honest with you, at the end, you're like, so to make money, you got to kind of be boring and just invest in index funds over 20 to 30 years. And I'm like, well, by that point, I'll be 52. So I'm like, maybe, I mean, I was like, I will, but reluctantly.
See, that's exactly the same thought process
I investing, when I first started investing, was so like, it was in 2020 when the stock market, everything was going up like 100%. You don't even understand unless. Shout out to my people who were in the 2020 stock market. Whoever got out and made those big gains, big up, because I didn't. And you ended up losing. I ended up probably losing like 80 to 90% of my portfolio, having put in like all my money from an acting job, like quite a big role. Yeah. It's a life lesson, that one I really wish I hadn't learned, but. I mean, now I know, I'm like, great, I can be poor and invest and hopefully get rich in 20 years.
Yeah, this is why I'm going to sell a business.
It's a good book, but also, actually, for those of you who have been watching Chaos...
Which is, by the way, it's been cancelled.
It's been cancelled, which is a shame, but watch the first series of Chaos, because it is great.
You should look into that camera when you talk to the camera.
Yeah, watch the first series. yeah. Stephen Fry, Mythos. So a lot of the stuff from Chaos will be, more or less directly out of this.
It's brilliant.
Zeus being a... POS, etc., etc. It's all summed up in this book. It's absolutely incredible. Stephen Fry writes as well as he talks. You can hear his voice within the pages, and it's absolutely stunning book. And it goes through Greek mythology from the very start, all the way through, and it's really, really, really good. I was hooked from the first moment I read it. So that's my book of the week.
My book of the week is not really of the week because I'm still reading a book which I don't want to recommend because it's controversial. No, I'm going to recommend it. What's his name? By Robert Greene, who wrote the 48 Laws of Power.
Cool.
And it's called The Daily Laws.
Daily Laws, right.
And it splits all his little laws from all his books into January, February, March, April, May. But it's really, really interesting. I mean, he got a lot of pushback because some of the laws are like, take your enemy out when you can. They're like brutal. Wow. But there's some really interesting ways of thinking about relationships and how you should approach competition. And he uses examples from like... there'll be some king.
How would you go about taking your enemy out?
I don't remember exactly, but it would be like, for example,
I must know.
He talks about there'll be a guy in France who worked his way up the ranks in the 1800s, and the way he did it was XYZ. And this is my talent, forgetting exactly what I read in the book. Just highly recommend it for everything, just giving you confidence in going after things, relationships.
Nice.
Yes.
Self-help book.
Self-help, which leads me on to mental masturbation.
Okay.
You know, when you just read self-help books.
That took me by surprise. You're like,
mental.
By the way, mental masturbation.
Mental masturbation.
Mental masturbation.
So it's I think it was coined by Chris Williamson, I don't know. But it's basically the reading of these books and the watching of these videos and just being like, yeah, I'm going to fucking get out. Yeah, let's go. And you do nothing about it. And that's what I found with a lot of self-help books is you're like, yeah, this is a new, which is what I mean about you get the sparks of motivation.
Yeah, you think it's going to happen instantly.
Yeah.
And you think you've read this fact, so all of a sudden you're going to just instantly achieve it. Yeah.
And it's the same with podcasts. And I think you really do need to write down what you want to take and act on. Because like this podcast, we were like...
It becomes selfish, doesn't it? It becomes a selfish endeavour, which, you know, by the way, being selfish is not always a bad thing. No. But we have it in acting. I have an acting coach called Eva. She's incredible. What she taught us is you know, when you're this might divide actors completely, and that's absolutely
controversial.
Fine. But the way I see a script and the way I see approaching text, for example, is you want to affect the other person. And that's going to be the best way to not think about what you're doing and mentally masturbate, so to speak. So, you know, you've got those.
That's good.
But there are method actors who will go and live the life of the character they're playing, or they'll use like a picture of their dead relative or something to get into character. And I just find it so, for me, it's just not a way I do things. I mean, maybe you can do that on set when you're doing a scene and you've got nothing after it and you don't need to be a certain way for the next scene.
Yeah.
But if you're on stage, like, it's just going to destroy you. I mean, there's I think it's a famous story of Daniel Day-Lewis being like wheeled off stage because he had his I think his dad died or something, and so he looked at this picture. And then had a breakdown on stage, and then he basically couldn't do the run. And you're like, that's fucking selfish. You've been wheeled off stage. The audience are paid to see you. Do your fucking job. It makes you so annoyed.
Controversy.
But that's all down to mental masturbation. It's that selfish need to make yourself feel fulfilled rather than like everyone else. And because at the end of the day, like, we are pack animals, you know. We're not made to be solo and on our own, and we work better. You know, the pyramids weren't made by one person just going, fuck it. You know what? I've seen a video about seesaws. I'm going to start creating a pyramid. Like, it would have taken him a million years. Do you know what I mean? Probably. Who knows? It would have taken him years.
Hey Siri, how long do the pyramids take to build? This is what my mum does. Yeah. She's like,
should we see how long?
Let me Google this.
Let's see how long it takes one person.
20 years, 4,000 workers.
So 20 years with 1,000 workers.
4,000.
4,000 workers.
Do you know how long it took the new James Webb Space Telescope? Oh, space.
Space.
Yes, we love space. It took 20 years, or it's 10 years or 20 years, and 20 billion or 10 billion, and I think something like 20,000 workers. It took a long time, and it took thousands of people, and I think you're so right. That's why when going after endeavors and things like this, it's actually better, which brings me on to a nice topic in a minute. It's better to do it with people that you trust because you will never have the full perspective. And it's something my ego gets in the way. And
it's really good.
Don't interrupt.
No. There's a really good book on that called Black Box Thinking by Matthew Syed.
He's
Shout out to Matthew Syed.
He's coming on the pod.
We wish. He's it's about having different perspectives from different religions or people from different backgrounds.
I've read it.
Yeah. Coming into companies, for example, like 9/11. It feels like saying Voldemort.
No,
when
I'm going to steal this story.
Yeah.
Because they just hired, the FBI was white males, and they
from like Yale and Stanford,
and they missed the perspective when Bin Laden was doing his cave videos. They missed so many nuances and things that someone of a Muslim nature would have clocked.
Yeah, they brought someone in who just went, well, that was clearly a sign,
and it was obvious,
and they were literally telling you what was going to happen, and they were like, oh.
Which is actually,
perhaps we should hire.
It's the best
different perspectives,
because there's a lot of controversy around diversity hires and things like this. But that is the best example of why diversity is so important, because diversity of thought is. It's like you don't miss anything if you've got all
you've got
cultures,
different backgrounds, and it's the assumption that the education system with like and white males going through like Yale and Stanford are going to suddenly be much more enlightened and intelligent than people who come from any other culture or any other place, which was quite unequivocally proven that is not the case.
Yeah,
and you know, having different cultures, having people who are taught or educated differently throughout their lives. Create such a diverse portfolio of people who can attack any problem in any situation. None of them are less intelligent. No one's better than each other.
I think Einstein said something quite interesting about how basically he was saying every discovery is sort of like an accident. It just happens. And I think you can kind of apply it to this, that you'll never have the true picture. You have a perspective. That perspective is built of your experiences and your encounters. So you're only getting a small segment. Now, if you have another person who says completely wildly different things, similar education, but different backgrounds, the way you think is going to be very different. Now, if you put 10 of them in a room, the thought processes are going to be so different that you are going to be a machine.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best argument to shut down those people who are like, I'm sick of this.
Yeah. Well, so, you know, talking about the book of the month or book of the week or whatever, we had it's all about time and opportunity. I mean, this deviates a little bit from diversity, but in respects to time and opportunity, you know, with someone like Warren Buffett investing in millions of stocks early on, like tons of stocks, and the likelihood of one of them actually being a winner, and the unicorn stock would prop up the rest of his portfolio. You know, Apple drove his portfolio to the moon. To the moon. And those factors applied because it was, you know, it's having all those avenues, all those like routes, all that experience in different areas, plus that time to compound.
Well, it's simple. If you look at people who've been traveling, they're far more well-rounded in terms of how they think, how they behave, their openness to things.
Yeah.
And I think when you're not subjected to new cultures, new thoughts of ways of thinking, you become quite closed-minded. I found myself doing that, and that's why I think your environment is so important to who you are.
Yeah.
Which leads, we've only got a bit of time left. So
I've got, okay, so, and talk about anxiety.
Okay.
Yeah. If we're talking about things like anxiety, I have recently been given these gummies. They're called mushroom gummies by Feel Good.
Do you rate the, because they're clearly lion's mane, right?
Yeah. So they're lion's mane, cordyceps, reishi, and chaga.
Yeah, so that's the stack, which I've been told is good.
Yeah. So these make me a lot more straight line in terms of my
You actually
brain
notice
patterns.
it?
Yeah, I do.
Interesting.
It's bizarre. It's like my anxiety levels in the morning. You know, I'm a lot flatter, like not flatter, but like a lot more clear. It's very weird, and I was like, oh. Bollocks, rubbish. I
like the name. Feel good.
Feel good. Feel good. Feel good.
You know, I've
they're banging. So I've got number 1, 2. I don't even know how.
Recently, my mum was banging on about love you, mum. She was going on about
she's crazy.
I said she's nuts.
Our mum is crazy.
Yeah, in the good way. We love her.
Yeah.
She was going on about the skincare routine because my sister, I don't know why I say my sister Phoebe, our sister, has been obsessed with Korean-based things. Whether it's
I've got Tourette's mode. Chuck him before that. Chuck him before that.
We won't reference what that is.
No, we will. We absolutely will. She got so angry once at a situation I'm not going to go into that she just lost it and just started shouting, "Chuck him before bed! Chuck him before bed! Chuck him before bed!" And I just it brought me right back to like when do you remember like before we went to school, she'd come into our room and be like, "Dominic, Oliver, up for school?" And we'd be like, "Yeah." And then obviously we wouldn't get up for like another
2 minutes later. It'd be,
"Boys! Boys!" She'd like rip the blanket off you. It'd be like, oh my God, it'd be like full on assault.
I mean, this is why we're different. I was up. Tom was always still asleep.
She'd yank the blanket off and then she'd grab my ankle sometimes.
Yeah.
I'd be like, this is...
I mean, to give her credit, you literally were like a slug.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
We're not... She wasn't like corporal punishing me or
No. But she I mean, all credit to our mum. She's had to raise 4 kids and do the whole school routine, and she'd drive, you don't realise until you're an adult, she'd drive like 3 hours a day in shitting traffic, and just I would be an absolute nightmare if that's the case. I'd be like, shut up. So I think she did pretty well. And it's interesting now, as we grew up, we moved home for a little bit, and then we have to experience the little ones, our little brother and sister, and they were worse than us.
Like, so bad.
Louis, bless you, Louis, he just would not get up. And I had my ex-girlfriend over staying with us for a bit, and you'd just hear, we'd be in bed, and you'd hear, Louis, get up. And then 10 minutes later, Louis, get up.
Do you remember when you caught Louis having sex?
I caught my little brother having sex.
The description you gave me was the best ever.
So I was home for a bit and I knocked on the door.
How old was he?
I did what my mum always does. So she would never knock and wait. She'd knock and open.
Yeah.
He was about 17. And I knocked, opened and was like, oh! It was his bare white arse.
I can even imagine you like reacting like that as
It was like, oh. And then his bare white arse, the girl, bless her, rolled over. I didn't see any of that, thankfully. And
thankfully,
I don't want to see some random girl.
Yeah. Fair.
I mean, and she's young. That's no.
Did I ever tell you about the time when Mum caught like?
This is a segment. Funny stories
I
from Mum.
got freaked out. So I basically, when I was like considering like being like an absolute top shagger, when I was like 16, 17 or whatever.
It's a shag a lot.
No, probably even earlier than that. Like I was like, right, okay, I probably should get some condoms.
Yeah.
Be safe. So I bought a bunch of condoms, and then I remember this like tutorial of how to hollow out a book. So I
remember this.
So I got the Stanley knife and like went through the pages like 5 by 5 or whatever, just kept going. Like hollowed out my David Beckham My Side book.
Yeah.
Like a really good autobiography. I love David Beckham My Side. Anyway, I destroyed it with a Stanley knife and then put these condoms in, closed it, put it in my bookshelf. For whatever reason, Mum had found it and Dad had found it. Like, I don't know, she must have gone through my books. Like, this is real, like, Sherlock Holmes level shit. And I walked in and they're both sitting on my toy box or whatever it was, just going like, so we need to have a talk about the birds and the bees. And I just went like, oh, fuck off! And just ran up. Mrs. Patterson. I just started crying. I was like, oh, I can explain. And they just like literally opened the thing and were like, presenting them to me like I was a bad boy.
I think that's how it works, because it would be Dad pulls you up on it, and then Mum would be there looking disappointed.
Yeah.
I remember I got caught with porn in my history, and he sat me down, pulled up the fucking windows. Mum stood there, and he's like, you've been looking at porn. And I was watching.
That was such a good impression of him.
There's just girls. There's this girl being bent over a table and fucked. And Dad stood there like, what's this what you watch? And Mum's just like, oh God. And I was like,
fair play.
And I think looking back,
but if like we were this age now, we'd be like,
everyone does it.
Everyone does it.
I think Dad was secretly like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah, so glad he's straight.
Yeah. Just and what was the other one? Oh, this is where I realised I was going to be an entrepreneur. And also, no, I'll get into that in another topic. But so we used to clean cars. Oh, sweet. Clean cars for a living. We called it Domover's Car Wash.
Domover's Car Wash was incredible.
And I found my thirst and taste for money. And I decided one day when we weren't making too much money, I found out Blockbuster.
We had a pretty desperate week.
We'll get into that next week. But Blockbuster would take money. Blockbuster, do you remember Blockbuster? They were taking money for trade-ins, and they give you like...
You know, you can stay at a Blockbuster Airbnb.
Yeah, I've seen it.
It's incredible.
They were like the Dragon's Den of DVDs. They'd be like, we'll give you 3p for this DVD. So I'd go in with all of our family's DVDs and be like, how much for all these? They give me like £6. I'd be like, yes, I can buy Coca-Cola. And I got caught because the DVDs just went down. And I can't remember the punishment, but actually, seeing as we're brothers, there was one time you fucked me over so hard. We went to see where? Do you remember Brum, the little car? Brum. Went to see where he was filmed, and we went into this little thing, and they had like little models, glass models, and for some reason I was like, stole it.
Yeah, you robbed a lot of things.
And I took like 3 and wouldn't give Dom any.
Sorry, Met, please.
And you dobbed me in on the trip. And I remember getting absolutely annihilated.
You were such a thief,
and you were just like, because you went, I'll tell them if you don't give me one.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was like, you won't do that.
Look, I'm the negotiator. That's all that's going to happen.
All right, finishing scene. So
we need to do sweets.
Okay, so actually, before we move on. So anyway, mum's Phoebe's crazy Korean love. She loves anything Korean, that boy bands. Is it
BTS?
PTSD.
PTSD.
And then she's found this skincare routine because skincare is really tricky. I found it. I've just not been done well with some. And Mum was like, genuinely, Dad and I have like best the skin has ever looked. So she got me a load of it, and it's this stuff. It's like a crazy ass routine. It's that. And you do morning and evening, and it's like the whole idea behind Korean skincare is that you're hydrating the skin, you're locking in the moisture.
Right.
So you do a wash in the morning, a light one, not to spring off any of because the night before you're producing stuff.
Midnight oils.
Yeah, and then you put this, you tone it, this serum, and then this cream. Fuck me, it works.
Really?
I'm going to find a TikTok link so I can make money because it's amazing.
What do you mean you can make money?
On TikTok, I'll tell you after. So yeah, anyway, that's that. Now we've got to finish because we've only got 10 minutes.
You know what?
What's your sweet of the week?
So we got sweets of the week.
You finished yours.
Seasonal sweets, seeing as it's Halloween. Hold on.
It's time for the seasonal sweets.
Seasonal sweets.
Woo! So today's sweets, they're not really seasonal for me, but they're nerds. But they're gummy clusters.
Fresh from America.
But no, I think they're they're the shit ones.
No, those are America. No, they're not shit. How can you say a nerd
No, they're fucking good. Oh, they're amazing.
Oh my God. Like,
life is about balance, and sweets are great.
It's just genetics.
Oh, it's just genetics.
Oh. And nerd gummy clusters. So I bought sour skeletons, seasonal sweet. Let me know.
Are they actually sour?
Yeah.
Sorry, ASMR. I don't think the chewing's ASMR. Okay, sweet review. We'll review each sweet. The nerds, that's an 8 out of 10.
I'm not watching it. I want the reaction. It's good, isn't it?
That's really nice.
It's really good. I say as far as
6.5.
Haribo, in fact, when we do sweet reviews, I'll bring in other ones, but I've got so many sweets that I can recommend. I mean, I don't know how we've managed to stay in shape. Like, I've eaten every
it's just
sweet
genetics.
It's just genetics.
No, it's because we train fucking hard.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so these are Haribo Monsters. Haribo Monsters Zing. With an upside down exclamation.
You want to point it in that, come on. Fucking
camera 3.
Give me the sweet.
There you go, try it.
I
haven't actually tried these yet.
4.
Yeah, that tastes like...
Yeah.
tastes like what I imagine cat piss.
I was thinking that fizzy cat piss.
Yeah, not for me.
Not for me.
Sorry, Haribo.
Join us next week for more seasonal sweets. Yes.
Or just sweets.
All sweets. Final thing, I want to just run through cool stuff each week. So, series for you this week that you've been like, it's got to be Chaos, I presume.
Yeah, Chaos. I loved Chaos.
And just give it a biopic.
So Chaos.
Is that the right word?
Yeah. So Chaos is about Zeus and the gods becoming arrogant and a little bit, I suppose,
Who's
selfish.
Jeff
Goldblum.
He's
plays
brilliant.
Zeus.
He's brilliant.
And the woman who plays Hera is absolutely fantastic. Zeus's wife.
Casting is sick.
Yeah, but if you read the book Mythos by Stephen Fry, all of it, you kind of get your own interpretation of it. Chaos was not quite how I imagined it all, but it was kind of amazing. Like Jeff Goldblum's so good.
He is exceptional.
He's so good. But it's a really good series, and it dives into Greek mythology.
But it's like modern day. It's really
it brings
cool.
it into the modern day, which is really cool.
It's how I describe the Boys, which is an awesome series. It's how I think gods would be in reality.
Series?
No, it's how they would be, like narcissistic, selfish pricks. Because if you had a Superman in this day and age, he'd be a prick.
Yeah.
Because he could do what he wants. If someone was like, listen, mate, Superman, stop it. He'd be like,
Superman, give it a rest, mate.
No, mate, I'm all right.
Superman, chill out.
Yeah, like, Superman, enough. He'd be like,
did you know the guy
laser eyes?
Did you know the guy playing Superman in the new series? It's not a series. The new film. He's called David Corenswet. He's 6'5". He's massive.
And then just quick, because I know we're pressed for time. Mine is going to be Entourage. Have you watched it?
I haven't.
Oh,
have I? I must have watched a bit.
Entourage. So the main actor it's awesome. It's from like 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah, but
so
it's back.
Entourage. It is.
Pass me a nerd. I need a nerd.
Adrian Grenier.
Okay.
This guy.
Oh yeah.
So he's the actor who's just got a lead role, and his mates are with him, the Entourage, and it's hilarious because you've got the manager Ari, who actually my mate Jake, who runs Alpha Talent Agency, actually said was an inspiration for him. He's just so gets shit done, but in the most hilarious way ever. It's the best series ever. It's so good, and it follows his journey into that industry. You'll be blown away.
Yeah.
And yeah, they just follow because it's like his mate Turtle drives them everywhere. His brother is past the actor who's trying to get back in.
Yeah.
And Vincent's just this nice dude. Girls throwing themselves at them. All right, venue of the week.
I'm still on TV programme. So Love is Blind UK has just released... No, Love is Blind America, sorry. I don't even know if it's called Love. It's just Love is Blind.
Yeah.
Has released a new series. And after the pods, they've got rid of the two people who would be the most dramatically funny. Like the guy who keeps talking about how rich he is, and then the girl Brittany or whatever who basically just talks about how she wants a rich husband.
I always just imagine Brittany as like an American. Oh mate,
yeah,
Brittany.
It's exactly how you imagine her, and it's they're one of the funniest pairs because the moment he sees her,
why'd they get rid of them?
Well, he was like umming and ahhing over two people, and then he told these girls they're basically competing with each other.
Amazing, legend.
And he was just awful, most annoying man.
I said that ironically, but
yeah, of course. But he thought he was a legend. And then when the doors finally opened, when he finally had to concede that he's now got with this other girl because the other one walked out, basically, he then sees her and realizes that she's actually like relatively hot, and then basically pretends that he loved her and he loves her. And
brilliant.
It's the funniest thing ever. And I think that's why they eliminated them before going to Miami or wherever they're meant to go. But I was like, you've ruined the whole season before it started.
You've ruined it.
Yeah. Comment exactly how you feel too, because I'm sure you will feel the same.
And then final thing, venues in London. Your favourite venue at the moment?
Venue at the moment. Well, for food, Polpo. It's like Italian tapas, but I think it was born in New York, the restaurant, but it's unbelievable. They use incredible meatballs, like the best meatballs you have in maybe anywhere.
Wow.
Yeah. And
strong claim.
And then like bavette skirts. Oh my god, it's so good. Polpo will blow your mind.
Mine would be I'd probably say the new Lane 7 in Camden. It's sick. It's got it's got bowling, it's got pool. I'm not summing it up well because most places have that, but it's got a downstairs. They've taken the fairground and shoved it into this really cool experience where you've got like shoot the duck, but it's all sex themes. So it's a bit, if you're a horny bitch, it's for you. And then they've got, what else have they got? Oh, the augmented darts with memes as you throw it. It's brilliant. It's awesome.
We're going to play a quick sweet game.
Okay, hang on. Let me just check if we've got anything else to do. Favourite gym class this week?
Yeah, wait for it. Quick sweet game. Okay. So, okay. The sweet games.
Yeah, sweet games.
So we're going to be playing the sweet games. So we got a game today with our nerds gummy clusters. We're going to chuck. We got 3 attempts. You've got to catch it. You've got to throw it into the other guy's mouth.
Cool.
Okay, so you go first.
All right.
Fuck.
Yes. Yes. Oh, no.
Oh, so close. I thought that was in. You just throw the one that you dropped. That's disgusting. Hold on. Get out of the fucking way.
Yes.
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 I think it's 2-2. Amazing.
All right. Well, that's the end of our first ever podcast.
Should we
That
do
was
the
great fun.
gym stuff?
Oh yeah. Class I'm loving at the moment. I'm just going to start with metabolic. I love it. It's there's no class in London. There's some brilliant classes in London, but you feel amazing. Shout out to the main trainer, Craig. He's so good. There's this thing he does where he's literally like, go on, mate, go on. And
I might be biased because I actually teach there sometimes. Robots. I think Pele Zachariah, I believe is his last name.
Pele is incredible.
Pele started
Pele.
programming the workouts every week.
He's one of the best.
So we teach a lot of his stuff, and they are so well formatted. He's giving the best classes. So for context, Robots is half on a water rower, which is so much nicer than like a Concept 2 rower. Because you've got the natural feel of water, so and it's low impact, so it doesn't fuck your body up. And then also it's half on weights.
They're good.
So you do like weighted rounds and then rower rounds, and the workouts are brilliant. And they are just about to put some rocket fuel into the company, apparently. And I think it's going to be a very, very cool place to go. So check it out, Robots Fitzrovia.
And remember, we finished this podcast.
So obviously with the title of our podcast, we should probably actually do a bit of a deep dive into it at some point. So I think in the future we need to take one of those ancestry. We need to do one of those ancestry things, and we also need to actually take a deep dive into our family tree, etc., and a few little bits to actually research if it is just genetics.
Is it just genetics?
Is it just genetics? I'm sure we'll find out.
Yes.